Order. This is a meeting of the Auditor and Clerk Subcommittee, and the purpose of the meeting is to discuss the current salary of the city clerk. Could the clerk call the roll?
Counselor Kennedy?
Here.
Counselor Rourke?
Here.
Counselor Samaras?
Here.
3 present.
If the members, if none of the members have any opening statements, then I'd turn it over to the city clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you here this evening. This is kind of a result of a motion that Councilor Kennedy put on, seconded by Councilor Rourke, back on January 6th of 2015. The motion was such that would reappoint me to my position for another 3-year term. That motion was granted and based on a roll call, majority of 9 yeas and no nays. As part of that appointment, the matter was referred to your committee in terms of discussion of a salary. I provided a memorandum regarding the salary to the board, and I supplied it to the other members of the council as well today. I could just outline that a little bit in terms of where my position is and what I'll be asking the committee to recommend to the full council. 3 years ago, on the City of Lowell, the ordinance employees are established on a grid. I've supplied that to you in the attachment, the second attachment of the package. The grid consists of 8 levels on that grid, and each level has 7 steps within the grid, I believe. At my original appointment, I was placed at level 3, step 7. As per the grid, that was where I was housed, and that's where I had to stay for the last 3 years, because there's no ability to move up to the next level in accordance with that ordinance grid. I, as an employee of this council, the only way I would be able to get moving on that element of it would be to request it from the body, and that's why I'm here today, to kind of line up with my 3 years that I'll be extending on. And I appreciate that vote. It meant a lot to me. I appreciate the support that I have from the council, and I do enjoy the job, and I'm glad I'll be here for an additional 3 years and hopefully more. In terms of that grid, as I said, I was placed at 3.7. My request would be, and it's kind of in line with what I'm looking for in terms of what other department heads, attachment 1 kind of lists the other department heads and where they are located on the grid. The vast majority of department heads are either on level 1 or level 2 of the grid. The majority that are on level 2 are at level 2.6. That's where I'd be requesting in terms of moving up to that level, moving up to that position. As I indicated, department heads that were, they've been here longer than I, some have been here the same amount of time, and some are on that level and that step after my employment as well. So I think in a sense of fairness that I would want to be up to that level 2, step 6 position. Again, I can outline the reasons I have for that, and I will. I think when I first got appointed to this job, I was hoping you were impressed with my educational experience before I arrived here. That hasn't changed. I believe that stayed maintained. I didn't give back any of my education, so I'm just as educated as I was. I believe that I've enhanced that ability because I've solely, for the last 3 years, have gained municipal clerk experience. I haven't practiced law, as I told you I wouldn't, and I will continue to honor that as I've indicated. I've gained 3 years of experience with this job. I believe the department that I'm managing is in a position that is very strategical, and it's a very good department. I enjoy working with the people. I believe that we served this council well. The vast majority of our department is legislative, really, with the preparation of the council, and a lot of post-work goes in after these meetings. A lot of it. Most of the work is post-work, the legislative aspect of it. And I believe we served this council well, and we continue to do that. Secondly, I think it's important that we've served the public really well. I think we're very prompt, we're very courteous, and we're effective. I don't register too many complaints from them. It's a difficult sometimes situation. Some situations are emotional. I think we handle it quite well. I think we resolve problems that are before us, and we'll continue to do that. I have the employees in that office. They're all cross-trained. They there are written procedures that are there, and they're all procedures that we are following, and we understand each other, and we understand what I expect of that office, and the employees in that office are willing to give that, and I'm happy about that. In terms of our long-range goals, they're still there. We still work on them constantly. That's the data collecting, the space element of the thing, the scanning departments. I've done that. I continue that. That's a huge goal. That's a goal that's going to take a little bit of time to accomplish. I'm on it as much as I can be on it, mostly every day, but dedicated time. I've done it with very little added resources through, in-house work and also with the help of volunteers. So that's kind of where my position is. I think by going up to that level, it puts me in line with other clerks throughout the Commonwealth. It was a general study that I did, and, for the size of the city of Lowell and for what the size of our budget and what we offer the citizens and the public and how we conduct our business, I think it's in line. It's closer in line to what the other similar situated municipalities are doing. Again, I told you the grid is kind of based on a 35-hour work week. I can assure you my work week is not 35 hours. I average about 45 hours a week, including I'm with the first group that's in there in the morning, I'm with the last group that's out there at night. In addition, I cover all the subcommittees and all the city council meetings, So my average is about 45 hours a week. So that kind of takes away on the grid a little bit, because the grid is based on 35 hours. So I'm putting in, I don't have an issue with that, but just as a matter of clarification. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm asking the subcommittee to honor that request, and I'm asking if they could possibly endorse that with a recommendation to the full council. And I'll also be just looking to get back and starting at the January 6th date that I was pointed to the 3-year term.
Thank you. See, nothing.
Yeah, at this point.
Could I ask, have you done a survey of what city clerks and other municipalities are making?
It's tough. I've done it by myself. I've done a little with the similarly situated ones, the bigger cities, Worcester, Boston, Springfield. My indication that I'm pretty sure that the Worcester clerk makes about $140,000. He has the elections in his office, but he also has a director covering that elections as well. Springfield and Boston are right around that, little less than what Worcester does. There are other smaller communities, a little bit more affluent, that are in about the 120 range. But the limited kind of research I've done online to the budget and all that, it kind of puts me a little closer in line with the biggest cities of the Commonwealth.
Okay, so, cities like, say, Lynn, Salem, Woburn, I could probably rattle out Newburyport, Haverhill, Lawrence, you don't know what they're making?
I don't know what they specifically make. I think a lot has to do with the affluency of, if it might be a smaller town, if it's more affluent, I think that the element is, the salary is a little higher. Cities like Lynn and Lawrence, I believe they're probably in range of what I'm here. I don't have any statistical hard figures on it, just from my review of the budgets throughout that Commonwealth, because it doesn't specifically state, but I can see the amount that goes to personal wages in that budget. So it's kind of a little bit of a guesstimate. They're right around, maybe a little above what I'm requesting here.
So are you saying then that, that the Worcester City Clerk, for instance, is not comparable because they have additional duties that you don't have? Is that, when you say that they handle elections, is that?
He does. I don't know, he's the highest that I've come across. But what I'm saying is that in addition to that, he has a department head under him that handles just the elections element of it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think he might have a pretty good situation there in Worcester.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Mercy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I say it? First off, I just want to say that I didn't get this grid because it was emailed. Was this emailed?
Yeah, it was, Council.
And I would have appreciated if I could have received one myself in my packet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I formulated it after Monday.
After Monday.
I mean, Monday.
I see what you're saying. But I would have appreciated if I would have got this sooner. But so.
I thought you would get it through an email.
All right,
I apologize
yeah,
for that.
well, I could have got it through the email, then I'd have to print it out to bring it here, but be that as it may, so are we saying that you'd go from 87,000 to 99,000?
That would be the request from 3.7 to 2.6.
So what I'm thinking here is, and I first want to preface this by saying you do deserve a raise. I know that you've worked very, very hard. But a job doesn't actually guarantee a raise. I don't get them very often myself. Not to say that you don't deserve it, but that's a difference of $12,000. So you would be making $12,000 more in your pay, which would be, to me, calculated as having not gotten a raise in 3 years would be like you did get a raise, because then it would be like $12,000. It would be $4,000 each year before that. So I'd like to ask you, Mary, how did the other department heads fare with raises? And he is not in a union per se, so so did anybody in a leadership role of a department get a significant raise like that? No, this year they get their regular which is a cost of living increase that amounts to how much money annually, would you say? Could you? It's like 2.5%. So which equals how much money? Not a lot, maybe, I don't know, without my calculator. Well, I'd like to know that, and I know that I'm putting you on the spot, but if I had probably had this, I could have probably figured it out myself. Is that on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
And then on January 1st, some of the newer, this is ordinance, so there are other people in it other than the department heads, the confidential employees. Anybody come January 1st that's not at their max has to have, well, all employees evaluated, but and the ones that can move to the next step would move on a good evaluation.
is there another step from 87,000 to another figure that doesn't go as high as 99?
Yes,
And-
if you just go up one tier, Counselor, to the DHO2, you see where it begins with 87,310.08?
Yes, I see that. So then the next step would be 89,
Yes.
294. So if we had given him a step increase per se, he would go from 87 to 94, would be, to me, more appealing to my pocketbook than actually 99. You know, I'm trying to be fair here, and I know he's probably worth 150,000 in my estimation, but we have to
We have
be,
that in the form of a motion?
no, it isn't a motion, but please don't take offense to what I'm saying.
I don't, Counselor. I understand it's not.
89, 92, 94, I would have given him the steps, but to go right to 99, I have a problem with that. Not because you're not worth it, but, I mean, I think that we're jumping quite a bit here, and not that you're not worth it, I'm going to reiterate that, but
I understand, Counselor, that I don't look at it as an insignificant amount of money. I understand that. I just kind of, based on a sense of fairness in terms of the location of other department heads that were brought on about the same time I was brought on. Some of them have been longer, and they're higher up in the grid. Some of them about the same time, they've been higher up. Also, the other people that came in behind me are putting up on that level. I just kind of did the average that I could do. And also, I think it's important to note that this grid is based on 35 hours of work. And as I indicated, and most department heads in here don't do the 35 hours of work. I average about 45 hours easily a week in here.
well, this is just my opinion, but you can take it back to
Okay.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Geary. The information you provided does help, but as Councilor Mercer said, you know, I just received this information tonight, and in truth, I'd like a chance to really study it. The thing about your job, I mean, I can safely say that everything we've asked you to do, you do it in a timely fashion. And I don't think most clerks' offices have an attorney as the city clerk. And I think that's another feather in our cap to have someone as talented as yourself or as well-educated as yourself. But I would really need from personnel an outline and a comparison of the other positions, other department heads within the city, that work within the city, and a realistic view on paper of what other communities are paying, their city clerk, and, basic job description. Because as Councilor Mercia stated, there's no question as to your work, and, if we could do it without any consideration to being, called on task to anything. I mean, I try to give you as much as possible, but that's not the world we live in. And the world that we live in is what can the community best afford, and what process should we be used that's really inclusive of all other employees, so we can take that into consideration. And I think if we had a report like that, we could better service the city clerk, because I think we'd have, the more information we have, the more time we're able to look at that information and make a decision from that would be helpful to everyone, I believe. That's my position.
Council Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a suggestion, and first off, let me say that, I'm very happy with the jobs done by the clerk. I think as someone who's been a counselor, who has been a city manager, who's an attorney, as Mrs. Samaras does, Councilor Samaras says, I looked at your salary for the past 3 years at $87,000. Not being in a union, there are pluses and minuses to that. I mean, of course, there's job protection. With you not being in a union, you're at the will of the council each and every week. I take your $87,000 salary and at a 3% raise per year over the past 3 years. You're looking at about an $8,200 raise. So if you did follow most of the contracts that run through the city and most municipal contracts along with the state, that'll put you right around 96.5. I wouldn't have a problem with something like that, where if you had prorated it back to your 3 years and you did get, nowadays a 3% raise is a good raise. Before it used to be the norm, but I would not have a problem with that. Going back to 3 years, if it was a 3% raise per year, and that would bring you right about to about $96,000, and I wouldn't have a problem with that, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's reasonable, Council.
Council Leahy, Council Mendoza. Anybody else? Let me just, I guess your situation is that you're at the top step. So you would get the cost of living raise, but you don't get a step raise.
Yeah, I haven't received that because my salary's the same as it was when I got on here. I just looked at my last paycheck, so it was 87, that's step 7. My last paycheck, if you annualize out the 52, it's the same amount of money.
Okay. In my opinion, where you fit on the grid and how you are in relation to other employees at City Hall is important. But I also think that probably the greatest argument for a raise for you would have to do with what other clerks are paid in other municipalities. But we don't have that information now. But I think in order for us to make a thoughtful and prudent recommendation to the full city council, we'd need to have that. I think that's, if we were to find out that you are substantially underpaid in relation to most other city clerks and most other municipalities, mid-sized cities, not affluent towns, then I think that would be somewhat compelling. So I guess I think what might be good is for the subcommittee to get a survey of what other city clerks are making in other cities, and also maybe if we could get a report from Human Resources as to what impact our recommendation would have on the bigger scope. Is that something that we could get?
Yes.
In a couple of weeks or something like
Sure.
that?
Yep.
Okay. Counsel Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As well, if you could add to this, Mary, if you could give us what was a raise, a cost of living increase, and what it equal to in money. And if someone received a cost of living increase with a step raise as well, would they have that? Would they have
Yes.
gotten that? So let me know that information too.
Okay,
So not just a cost of living, but with a step increase to them as well.
with their evaluation.
And is our city clerk entitled to a cost of living increase as well? And he just hasn't gotten it? What was that all about?
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that because he does come under the city council, where we come under the city manager. I'll double check that.
And do you get a cost of living increase automatically every year?
No,
All right.
it's not automatically.
So let me know about that as well.
Whether we've got it the past 3 years, yes,
And
I
if you
will.
could not email me that and just put it in my packet, I would appreciate that even better. Thank you.
Okay, sure. You're welcome.
Counsel Samaras.
Thank you. I'd also like the job description and maybe some comparable job descriptions of other communities. I think, as I stated, I don't think many communities have an attorney as a city clerk, and I think that's important. So I think education has to be considered in this. And then I think the role of the city council, where he works directly for the city council. So there are many issues here that make him different from everybody else. And I think the better we can clear his position and show and demonstrate what the responsibilities are and what the comparisons are, we can make a far better decision, and a decision that would be understood by the community as a whole and everybody else. You see my point?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, then the chair would entertain a motion to request from Human Resources that a survey be done of other city clerks in mid-sized cities in the Merrimack Valley and other places in the Commonwealth, and that the report, and that in addition to the report, to the survey, that there also be a report on what impact any recommendation that we would make would have on the whole grid system.
And the job description.
And the job description.
Role responsibility.
So the chair would entertain that motion. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
The motion by Counsel Samara, seconded by Counsel Rourke. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion so voted. Okay. If there's no more, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Mr. Chairman.
adjourn. Seconded. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Thank you.